Hello and good morning. Welcome back to the 5 Cent Cigar Newscast. I'm Sophia Szabo. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up this week, we have a conversation about the history of URI protests and its importance during Black History Month. Then, students going to the beach and helping out a local community. Lastly, we have a discussion on race in America, being led by student organization Diversity Dialogues. And as always, make sure to stick around for your Rhody Sports Corner. Multicultural Student Center is holding a panel to discuss a part of history that few know about, these being the protests against racial inequality in 1971, 92, and 98. 4 alumni speak on their activism that sparked a lasting change at URI. Alexa Potimianos has more.
On February 15th, the MSSC hosted a discussion panel about the history of protests at URI. Panelist Caroline Oliveira shares more about the importance of this event.
So generally speaking, I think these events like this are an opportunity to educate, right? To share the past so that we know where we want to be in the future. And the MSSC really plays a critical role in educating the community, both students, faculty, staff, administrators, and so that we are aware of the concerns, aware of the initiatives that need to happen and take place so that we can move the community.
Both Brosnahan and Oliveira go into more about the importance of these events during Black History Month.
I definitely think it's important to host these events outside of Black History Month because while the month of February is dedicated to remember these historical events, I think remembering them and acknowledging them throughout the entire year is really important to achieve justice for the Black community and to remember the struggles that they've been through.
Especially during Black History Month, because there's so much, especially now that we are at a sort of inflection point in society, and we can go back and revisit some of the horrific, spaces in time, or we can move forward away from them. We are in a very challenging place right now, and during Black History Month, it gives us that we should be talking about these things year-round, but especially during Black History Month when we're talking about race and social and racial injustice. Now is the time, but we should really be having these conversations year-round throughout the year.
Something I took away from the panelist discussions was that you have to be really willing to put yourself out there to be an activist and to be an active protester. One of the examples, they said to march down to the State House and bang on their door until someone doesn't slam it in your face. And I think that's actually a really good example of what you're supposed to do as an activist and how you're supposed to dedicate yourself to making change, and you can't back down no matter what anyone tells you.
Alexa Potimianos, 5 Cent Cigar News.
Students are taking to Camp Cronin Beach in February to help clean up the beloved area. The cleanup is being held for the Center of Career and Experimental Education, who partnered with ORCA to connect students to their local community and environment. Erin Brown has the story.
CCEE frequently partners with local organizations to connect students to nonprofits and volunteer opportunities. I talked to Amy Albert to learn more about their most recent beach cleanup.
So ORCA actually reached out to us to see if there was, if URI students and we wanted to partner for a beach cleanup sometime throughout this year. There was a colleague that had partnered with them for some of their other projects as well and had a really positive experience. And so I had talked with I can't remember exactly what his title is, but kind of their volunteer director who kind of oversees the projects, and was excited about the things that they offer, and also was excited to be able to support another organization that's kind of doing this good work as well. A lot of students come to URI because it's close to the water. Mm-hmm. Upperclassmen tend to live close to the water, and I think it's a reminder of how do we keep our bay clean, how do we make sure we're keeping our beaches clean of trash, and it's also a great conversation topic for students to think about as we're going through. I think something I always find fascinating with beach cleanups is sometimes we get there and everyone is like, there's not really that much to clean, and then as you start to get going, we end up picking up anywhere from the last couple of beach cleanups, we picked up upwards of like 60 to 80 pounds of trash.
Oh my gosh.
And that is some bigger items, some small things, and people realize just how much trash and debris ends up on our beaches, which in turn then ends up in our water and affects our marine life and continues that cycle. So excited to be able to offer that as an opportunity for students to kind of jump in and have some service and also kind of facilitate that larger conversation.
Even though the wind was going 25 miles per hour, Camp Cronin was full of people from the local community and URI cleaning up the trash that surrounds the beautiful beach area. You can find out more by going to the Office of Civic Engagement and Action's website. Erin Brown, 5 Cent Cigar News.
The Diversity Dialogues has a mission of offering a safe space for the exploration of difficult topics centered around social inequality. The organization offers workshops on race, social identity, and microaggressions, and encourages students to reflect on their own biases. This week, Alexa Potimianos went to their discussion on race in America. Take a look.
URI's Diversity Dialogues held their first ever open forum in honor of Black History Month.
I feel like when we give these workshops, for a lot of people, it's like the first time that they're hearing about like what implicit bias is, what microaggression is. So just getting people thinking and talking about issues of social justice where they really weren't beforehand, I think that's the main thing that we want to do, because we really can only cover so much in like a 1 hour and a half to 2 hour workshop.
For me, I think that it's like really just being able to having each participant take like one thing away. So whether that be one fact or like a different perspective they've never heard before, being able to leave the training with one more piece of information that they didn't know is kind of my goal, because it's really hard, especially when you're talking about difficult topics like this for some people.
Yesterday, the workshop we did was Race in America, and essentially what that workshop covers, it's very broad. We cover essentially like what race means, and like we talk about a lot of the different implications, such as like how race is a social construct. We talk about how it's normalized. We talk about institutional racism, the Black Lives Matter movement. So we kind of, in the time that we have, we try to broadly talk about like what race is, how it functions in society, instances of racism that people actually face, and we talk about it and we open people's eyes to the fact like that racism still very much is a thing, even though it might not look like what people think it looks like.
The next open forum will take place on February 22nd.
We're going to be doing a workshop on Malcolm X, which is personally like one of my fields of expertise. I've done a lot of research on Malcolm and his life, so we're thinking about doing a workshop on like how he is portrayed.
Alexa Potimianos reporting, 5 Cent Cigar Newscast.
And now over to Zach Austin with your Rhody Sports Corner.
Thanks, Sophia. Hello and welcome back to another edition of your Rhody Sports Corner. After falling to Dayton last week, the women's basketball team got back on track this past weekend with a win at Richmond. Looking to send their seniors off on a good note, the Rams hosted St. Bonaventure Wednesday night in their home finale. Aniekan Okon has more from senior night.
Yeah, Zach, Wednesday night was in a way a culmination of the young Tammy Reese era. 5 seniors, a group that helped shift the course of the program, were honored prior to the team's 67-54 victory against St. Bonaventure.
Emmanuel Tahan, MP for Posse, Chanel Williams, Des Elmore, and Marta Vargas walked on the Ryan Center floor for a final time. Head coach Tammy Reese thanked the group for taking a chance on her vision to change the program.
There is no one else that has ever done what these 5 have done. That's special. That's a legacy. And that's why they came here. To make their mark, not be one of many, a horse at Syracuse, or someone at Missouri, or someone at Seton Hall. They came to be special, and today they made history, and I think that's pretty special.
The history that Reese is referring to is the team's 22nd win of the year, a feat no other team in program history has achieved.
It took a lot of work. We were like in the bottom of the bottom, and what people see is just like, the results, but it did take a lot of work, and I thank Coach Tammy for coming here and believing in this program and bringing these people. I'm really proud, and I really think we can do something special here, and I know we will.
For Posse was the star of the night for the Rams, flirting with a triple-double, scoring 23 points, grabbing 7 rebounds, and dishing out 9 assists. She said the performance meant more because it was her final home game.
I came from a long way with Coach Tammy, and being able to be there with my teammate, and even Des, like having her back here, it means a lot. I was just trying to play for the team and for all the work that I put in, and just take pleasure in the game that I love, that I've been playing since I don't even remember.
The Rams will play for their first ever regular season title Saturday when they take on the Dayton Flyers on the road. At the Ryan Center, I'm Aniekan Okon, 5 Cent Cigar Sports.
Men's ice hockey qualified for the ESCHL playoffs after an 18-11-1 campaign this season, but it would be no easy task as the Rams took on the Delaware Blue Hens. With highlights from the game, here's Aniekan Okon.
These two teams meeting for the third time in as many weeks in the semifinal round of the playoffs. We pick it up in the third period, game tied at 2. Mike Costello finds Griffin Long and he fires it into the top of the net to give the Rams the lead. Later on in the period, the Blue Hens would tie it after Ivan Zadoryak hits this one-timer for the goal. The game would go on into overtime. In the overtime period, Delaware would win it here, passing it around the ice before finding Gavin Halser for the goal. Rhody's season comes to an end by a score of 4-3.
And let's take a look at the rest of your scores around Kingston. Men's basketball dropped their last 2 games on the road to George Washington and St. Bonaventure. Baseball was swept in their weekend series at William & Mary. Tennis cruised by their Ocean State rivals in Providence College. And the swimming and diving team placed 11th at the Atlantic 10 Championship. That's it for this week's Rhody Sports Corner. Back to you.
That's all we have for you this week at the 5 Cent Cigar Newscast. As always, make sure to check us out at rhodycigar.com and follow us on Twitter at Rhody Cigar. Reporting from Kingston, I'm Sophia Szabo. Stay safe, Rhody.